Aira State was a 17-year-old girl who worked as an alchemist in Linkstad, the capital of the Kingdom of Homing. Her work involved the refinement of medicines. She made healing potions, antidotes, elixirs, and more. No other alchemist could apparently craft such a wide variety, so even as a commoner she had been allowed to live comfortably. However, Prince Julius Homing, the second prince of the Kingdom of Homing, told Aira that it was her last day. When Aira reacted with confusion, Julius repeated that she was fired and asked if she had not heard him. He stated that he had found 3 other alchemists. Julius told Aira that he was different from his older brother. He said that just the thought of a commoner like her being near him made his skin crawl. Aira recalled that Prince Clif, the second prince, was the one who had invited her to the palace. She was shocked to learn that Prince Clif's older brother was away. Aira had only started working as a state alchemist a year ago, and she had lost her status in an instant. She went to an inn and begged the innkeeper, Amina, to let her stay even if just for a little while. Amina called the situation cruel and told Aira that she was not just any alchemist. Amina asked if there was anywhere else to work. Aira began to answer, but Amina said that in that case there was only one thing to do. Aira mentioned that alchemy was difficult without the right equipment for compounding. Amina recalled that there was some old equipment in the back of the inn. Aira was surprised and asked what the place was. Amina explained that her husband had used the room when he was alive. She had been a pharmacist, so she sold simple medicines there too. Amina offered the place to Aira and said that in exchange Aira would work at the inn. Aira happily agreed. Aira asked Amina to let her work for her. The ingredients on hand were limited, so Aira thought she would have to consider carefully which items to refine. A new ruin had been discovered, and adventurers had been gathering in the capital. Many injured guests were staying at the inn. An adventurer asked for a high-grade healing potion and an antidote. Aira cheerfully announced that she was back. Customers remarked that the inn had some pretty rare things for sale. They said that as expected of the capital, the old apothecary had never carried anything like high-grade recovery potions. Amina noted that at this rate, doubling the inn's revenue would not be enough. Aira was glad to hear it but said there were not many materials available. All that was left was what she had brought along when she was kicked out of the palace. Aira said she would have to figure out some way to get more materials. At that moment, Prince Clif arrived at the inn and called out to her. Aira was shocked to see him. Clif told Aira that he had come looking for her. Aira asked why he was there. She recalled that Clif had always looked out for her at the palace, but she never imagined he would find her just days after she was kicked out. She suggested they go to the back room. Clif was impressed that the inn had a compounding room. Aira explained that she was working there as an alchemist. Clif said he never imagined that Prince Julius would say such things to her. Clif explained that Julius was obsessed with the class divide between commoners and the nobility. He believed that the throne of the next king could not be entrusted to someone as rigid as Julius. Aira asked if that meant Clif would become the next king. Clif replied that nothing had been finalized yet. Clif hesitated, then said that if he were to become king, he wanted to ask Aira something. He asked if she would practice her alchemy by his side. Aira was caught off guard, and Clif quickly told her to forget it, saying now was not the time. Aira wondered what practicing alchemy beside him meant. Clif said that normally he would want to restore her position right away, but since Julius had selected the state alchemist and submitted the documents to the council, revoking it immediately would be difficult. Aira told Clif not to worry. Clif offered to help her in every way he could and asked her to tell him if there was anything he could do. Aira thought about it and then said she actually did have a request. The next day Aira officially opened her apothecary, which she named Engage. People in the street were confused, wondering what the place was and why an inn had an apothecary inside it. Aira was glad she had worked hard with the materials Prince Clif gave her even though she had stayed up all night. Customers were amazed by the variety of medicine available. Clif came by and noticed the situation. Aira told him that the equipment was fine, but they were short on medicinal ingredients. Clif told her that if she only needed materials, that was enough. Aira noticed that the quantity of materials Clif had provided seemed to be about 3 times what she had expected. She declared that she would put her heart into preparing for business and repay the debt she owed through sales, adding that a gloomy atmosphere did not suit her. At the palace, Julius asked Therese, one of his new alchemists, how things were progressing. Therese reported that production of antidotes and low-grade healing potions had been successfully achieved, and that compounding eye drops would take just a bit more time. She pledged to devote every effort to meet Julius's expectations. A small girl was cleaning behind her. Julius said it was fine and that there were no particular issues. However, he privately wondered just how many kinds of medicine Aira had been making. He then called out to Therese and told her that he truly expected her to achieve great things as a state alchemist. Therese was moved to tears of joy by his words. Therese then mentioned to Julius that she had been reading through the compounding records since she arrived. She told him that the previous state alchemist must have compounded an extraordinary variety of medicines. Julius looked at the records with surprise. Julius thought to himself that he should investigate in more detail just how much of an asset Aira had been to the nation. When he had replaced her, his father and the council were told that 3 exceptional state alchemists would be joining in her place and that they would be more than sufficient as her replacements. A servant named Orphan brought Julius tea. Orphan mentioned that the stock of items Aira had prepared was running low. Julius responded casually, noting that since she was no longer around, it could not be helped. Orphan warned that at the current rate, the inventory would hit bottom in just a few days. Julius said that supply from the new state alchemist was an urgent matter. Orphan then shared some unconfirmed information. He had heard that a certain inn was selling medicines, and it appeared to be thriving, mainly among adventurers. Orphan revealed that the person running the apothecary was none other than Aira State. Julius reacted with shock, demanding to know what Orphan had just said. Julius sat at his desk thinking about Aira's true abilities and the thriving apothecary. He told himself that he needed to confirm this. Julius arrived at Aira's apothecary inside the inn, accompanied by Orphan. He was shocked by the shelves full of medicines and demanded to know what was going on. A man greeted Julius, saying it had been a long while. Julius noticed the man was nobility. He introduced himself as Raihat Cresta, in service to Prince Clif. Julius said that this should be the shop of Aira State, the former national alchemist. He asked Raihat why he was there and whether he was assisting her with the compounding. Raihat said that he did not do anything like compounding and that Aira handled it all by herself. Julius was taken aback and asked who the woman was. Aira then appeared and greeted Julius, saying it had been a while. Julius nervously claimed he had come to shop. Raihat found it hard to believe there was any business with Aira at this point. He asked Orphan to confirm, and Orphan muttered that it sounded like a lie. Julius then called out to Aira directly. Julius ordered eye drops, cold medicine, and recovery potions from basic to advanced. He also asked for dark potions, mind potions, and poison potions. He laughed and told Aira to keep the change. Aira quietly replied as he wished. After leaving, Julius said to himself that the amount he bought should be enough and clenched his fist. Raihat wondered what anyone could possibly do with all of that. Aira said she had no idea, saying that it was not as if they intended to analyze the ingredients. Julius stormed back to the palace and shouted, demanding to know what in the world was going on. Therese apologized deeply. Julius told Therese there was no need to apologize and that he was simply asking what had happened. Therese explained that the quota of 10 item types to be compounded by month's end, as Julius had specified, was proving difficult. She said the level of the medicines Aira had compounded was extremely high, and even when they analyzed them, they could not complete them on their own. She added that if it was 3 people for 7 types, they could somehow manage. Julius was stunned. Julius cursed to himself and thought that he had no choice but to use his trump card. He asked Orphan if the selection was complete. Orphan confirmed it was. Julius ordered Orphan to tell them to come to his quarters since they were already in the capital. Aira was told about a new alchemist whose talent had been overlooked in some remote region. Rai had explained that the girl was talented, the same age as Aira at 17 and a commoner. Aira confirmed that she was indeed a commoner. The girl's name was Shisma Radui, and she came from a wealthy farming family. Shisma could apparently synthesize 12 different types of items all by herself. With her help, Julius was able to meet the quota of 10 types. Aira was impressed to hear that. Rai had added that Shisma could also compound elixirs. Aira was excited to hear this. Elixirs were one of the 3 great remedies, alongside panaceas and revival potions. They were rare items that significantly restored wounds, stamina, and mental energy. Aira jokingly wondered how much she could sell one for, then said she was kidding. Raihat remarked that Shisma was impressive but that Aira was as terrifying as ever. Aira listed the things she could also make, including stamina potions, ether compounds, and even items like explosive talismans. Raihat asked just how many kinds of items she could make. Aira said that including fine adjustments, she believed it was over 30. Raihat said that if she was willing, she should go meet Shisma and the others at the palace. He suggested that meeting the national alchemist should be a good stimulus for her as an alchemist. At the palace, Julius asked Orphan if today was the day his older brother was bringing Aira State. Orphan confirmed that they had already entered the palace. Shisma asked if the person called Aira was an alchemist like her. Julius dismissed Aira, saying she was no one of consequence and that there was no need for someone like Shisma to meet her. Shisma asked why she must be the one to curry favor with some commoner brat. She said she would judge for herself whether she needed to meet Aira. Shisma then noted that she had heard Aira was compounding an extraordinary variety of items. Julius was caught off guard. Therese welcomed Prince Clif at the palace. She apologized for disrupting their work but was more interested in asking if the girl with him was Aira. Therese excitedly told Aira that she was the one who had created the recipe notebook they had been using, calling it their guiding light. Aira was confused and recalled that the notebook was just a memo she had jotted down in her spare time, so it was nothing special. Therese introduced herself as Therese Bayern and asked Aira to call her Therese. Aira asked Therese to call her Aira as well. At that moment, someone called out to Aira, recognizing her. Clif reminded Therese that he had told her to rest today. Therese said she was looking well and expressed relief. She said she had really wanted to meet Aira. Therese then mentioned that she had heard Julius had no choice but to exile Aira so she could return to her family, since Aira's family was ill. Aira was confused and told Julius directly that her family was not sick at all. She asked Julius what the meaning of this was and reminded him that he had exiled her because having a commoner working in the palace made his skin crawl. Therese was shocked and could not believe it. Julius panicked and tried to brush it off as a mistake. Therese demanded that Julius explain himself, asking what kind of mistake could lead him to say such revolting things about Aira. Shisma then entered the room, noting that everyone was gathered there. Aira saw Shisma and remarked that she was a pretty girl with beautiful white hair. Shisma asked if Aira was Aira State. Aira confirmed and greeted her cheerfully. Shima said the pleasure was hers. Clif noticed that Aira seemed to want to ask something. Aira asked Shima if elixirs could really be compounded. Shima asked Julius for permission to answer. Julius nervously agreed. Shima told Aira to continue the conversation and said she would discuss the earlier matter about Aira's exile with Julius thoroughly later. Julius yelped in fear. Shima confirmed that she could certainly compound elixirs. Aira told Shima that she was truly amazing. Shima said that even as flattery that was not funny and asked if Aira was finally feeling the gap between their abilities. Aira said she did not mean anything like that. She pointed out that the palace was fully equipped with the latest tools and asked Shima if Aira could also make elixirs with that equipment. Shima was surprised. Aira admitted that when she was a state alchemist she had thought about whether she could make one. She said that with all the equipment at full capacity she thought she could make elixirs, and had even considered compounding wide-effect elixir agents. Shisma then challenged Aira to have a match with her. Shisma proposed they compete based on how many elixir-grade items they could make. She admitted that if they competed on variety of simple items she would have no chance of winning. Clif asked if they wanted the match to be based on quantity, and said he would evaluate the outcome considering quality as well. Aira asked if the conditions were unfavorable for her since she had never actually made an elixir before. Shisma said that in that case she could go all out without holding back. Aira asked Clif to judge the alchemy match. Clif told Aira to do as she liked. Julius watched silently. Aira told herself that the compounding recipes were already in her head, and that all that was left was to put them into practice. Shisma declared that she could not lose this match. Clif announced the start of the first alchemy competition. The judges would be Clif and Prince Julius. Shisma and Aira stared each other down, and Therese said they both looked forward to it. Clif remarked that both competitors were brimming with enthusiasm. Raihut agreed, saying he could feel their fighting spirit. Julius noted that his older brother was totally fired up and wondered why Therese was getting swept up in it too. Clif observed that Julius seemed to be left out in the cold. Julius thought to himself that the competition was about who could create more elixir-grade items and that it was clearly in Shisma's favor. He watched Aira and thought that her hand movements were visibly slow, and that she seemed overconfident in her own talent. Julius then looked at Shisma's efficiency. Everything she did flowed smoothly. Clif commented on how remarkable Shisma's hand movements were. Raihut agreed, saying they were both incredible and working at a high pace. Therese was impressed. In terms of quantity, Shisma had about 10 bottles while Aira only had 2. Julius wondered what the others were talking about. Shisma glanced at Aira and reacted with frustration. Aira told Shisma that it might be better to calm down and brew more carefully. Shisma asked if Aira was really that confident. Shisma continued producing bottles. Therese called out to her older brother. Julius declared that it looked settled and that Shisma had won. Clif and Therese looked surprised. Clif asked if Julius might be feeling frustrated. Julius denied it, confused. Clif pressed further and Julius just stared blankly. Clif asked if Julius was serious. Julius confirmed he was. Clif laughed and told him there was no need to get so down about it, since it was just an alchemy competition. Julius flinched at the comment. Clif asked Therese to explain the situation in a way Julius could understand. Therese agreed and stated that Shisma's 14 elixirs had likely not produced a single successful one. That was why Shisma was panicking. Julius was shocked. Therese explained that in contrast she believed all 3 of Aira's elixirs were successful. Furthermore, judging by Aira's compounding procedure, she might be starting to compound elixir potions. Julius could not believe it. Aira confirmed she had 3 completed so far. Aira said that the quality might not be perfect, but all 3 should qualify as elixirs and were good enough to sell in stores without any issues. Shisma stared at Aira. Shisma declared that from what she could tell, all of her own products were high-grade potions at best. Aira then asked Shisma a question. She asked if Shima had ever made a high-grade potion before. Shima said she was quite confident asking questions in the middle of an alchemy duel. Shima then admitted that she had never made one. Aira noted that this meant the competition was Shima's first success at making high-grade potions. Clif then said there was something he wanted to ask Julius. He asked Shima what her success rate for compounding elixirs had been up until that point. Shima hesitated and Julius looked uncomfortable. Therese spoke up and said that she did not know the precise figures but she believed it to be approximately 1 in every 10 to 20 bottles. Clif calculated that the success rate was roughly 5 to 10%. He noted that Aira would probably be considered a genius by public standards. Even Shisma normally failed when making elixirs, yet Aira had succeeded 3 times in a row. Julius sighed and stood up. He said it was about time and asked Therese to do the honors of judging, since she was a court alchemist too. Therese eagerly accepted. Aira noticed that Julius and Therese seemed rather close and felt a twinge of something. Shisma and Aira faced each other intensely. Therese noted that only the last of Shisma's items could be called an elixir, while everything else was likely high-grade healing potions. She said that since they were failed attempts at making elixirs, they had no bearing on the match. Therese called Shisma amazing and said that compounding elixirs was beyond her own abilities, so she had nothing but respect for both of them. Shisma thanked Therese. Clif said the match was turning into an entertaining one. As the bonds between the alchemists deepened, he felt that something truly remarkable might be created. Therese announced the results. All 4 of Aira's potions were unmistakably elixirs, and incredibly, the final one was said to be a higher grade than even a regular elixir. She was at a loss for words that Aira had created an elixir potion in an elixir creation competition. Raid said it was expected of Aira but could not believe she had gone this far. Therese stated that Shisma had 21 superior healing potions and 1 elixir. She said that was also wonderful, but given the nature of the match, Aira was the winner. Shisma admitted that she had lost. Julius protested, saying that in terms of sheer numbers, Shisma was the overwhelming winner and that it was unfair to just dismiss it. Clif told Julius to leave it at that. Orphan also told Julius it was time to stop. Julius shouted at Orphan for siding against him. Shisma told everyone not to worry about it and said she would take her leave. She waved and told them she was fine. Orphan told Julius to get some rest. Aira called out to Shisma. Shisma asked what was wrong. Aira thanked her for everything. Shisma said it was a total defeat this time, but that she would not lose next time. Aira looked at Shisma steadily. Aira told Shisma that she would work hard so Shisma would not catch up to her. Shisma agreed, and the two shook hands. Prince Julius cursed, wondering why things had to turn out this way. Shisma had lost and been humiliated, and Therese had looked at him as if she had completely given up on him. Julius declared that everything was Aira's fault. A servant asked what was the matter. A servant informed Prince Julius that a summons had arrived from the council. Julius asked what it was about. The servant explained that it concerned the matter of Lady Aira's expulsion, and asked how Julius wished to proceed. Julius learned that Prince Clif was absent due to post-processing work from gathering talented alchemists from various regions. Julius got excited and said that was it, there was no reason not to take advantage of his brother's absence. He believed that if he just drove out Therese and the others, everything would be settled. Julius thought that the council was ultimately merit-based, and that if someone superior to Aira could be found regardless of country, that would be enough. He vowed to crush Aira's confidence soon enough. 2 weeks later, Shisma had been visiting Aira's shop regularly. Aira explained how to combine ingredients in a certain way, and Shisma agreed that the approach made sense. Aira noted that researching together in the workshop had been enjoyable. Shisma asked if they would be able to make the revival potion with this, and Aira confirmed that they could. Shisma then called out to Aira. The revival potion was one of the 3 great recovery potions. It could not bring back the dead, but it could restore someone on the brink of death. For adventurers, it was something they would give anything to get their hands on. Aira cheerfully announced that her recipe notebook was complete. She then asked how things had been going for Shisma lately. Shisma said that compared to Aira, her success rate was still low, but her elixir brewing had become stable. Shisma told Aira that she would make sure to catch up with her. Aira said she was looking forward to it. Aira then wondered what had happened with the gathering of talented alchemists from across the land, recalling that Lord Clif had mentioned something about it before. Shisma asked if Aira had not heard and began to explain. Prince Clif welcomed 2 visitors named Roland and Emily. He noted that they had come all the way from the Shingaya Empire and hoped it would not be a wasted trip. Emily remarked that the carriage ride had taken a long time. The Shingaya Empire was a peripheral nation located to the west of the Homing Kingdom. The twins Emily and Roland were said to be alchemists without equal even in the Empire. Prince Clif looked unsure about them. Roland suggested to his sister that since they were there anyway, they should see the Homing Kingdom's latest facilities. Emily agreed, saying they would be working there too, and asked Clif to show them around. Clif agreed to show them the way. Therese asked who the 2 were, and Clif introduced them as being from the Shingaya Empire. Roland introduced himself as Roland Keith and said he looked forward to working with Lady Therese. Emily introduced herself as Roland's twin sister. Prince Julius told Therese that the twins had asked for an explanation of the latest facilities. Therese asked if that was wise. Julius said it depended on their abilities and proposed settling things with an alchemy match against the 3 of them. Emily remarked that Julius was pretty provocative right off the bat. Roland said it was fine by him and that it sounded more entertaining that way. He volunteered to be the one to step up and warned them not to regret it later. King Kelvin of the Homing Kingdom asked Clif how Julius had been acting lately and whether there had been any progress regarding Aira's expulsion. Clif told his father that Julius had continued refusing to cooperate for the past 2 weeks. To avoid worsening his own position, Julius claimed poor health to distance himself from the Aira expulsion, even using the influence of a friendly duke's house. King Kelvin admitted that Julius was skilled at self-preservation. Clif reported that the main problem was that Julius was gathering skilled alchemists through his own unique routes. King Kelvin said he had heard that was under Clif's management. Clif explained that Julius seemed to have made contact before him, and that there was a possibility Julius was planning a complete replacement of the current alchemists. King Kelvin said that would be just like Julius. and that Julius likely thought showing off the power of his pawns would help him gloss over his crimes. King Kelvin asked Clif what he intended to do. Clif noted that Julius underestimated Aira far too much, both with the expulsion and now this. He asked whether Julius would be crushed before reaching the council. Clif said that observing a bit longer seemed best and that he would completely shatter Julius's confidence. King Kelvin told Clif that the future of the homing kingdom would be crafted by him, and most likely by Clif as well. He told Clif he could do as he saw fit. Clif replied that he would do as his father wished. The alchemy match had already taken place. Mary and Monica had refined a combined total of 19 items across 9 types in 20 minutes. Roland asked if that was all, and Mary exclaimed in disbelief that even though the two of them had challenged him together, they had lost. Julius asked Therese for her assessment of Roland. Therese judged Roland to be a man of considerable skill. Julius noted that the results surpassed even Shisma's. Therese confirmed that Roland had produced 12 different types and 27 items in a short time and that he was truly befitting of the Shingaya Empire's top rank. She added that if his older sister Emily was even better than her younger brother, it would be truly astounding. Julius noted that the two possessed a special trump card, dual alchemy. Dual alchemy was reportedly a method where two people worked in perfect sync on a single item, speeding up synthesis and dramatically increasing output. Roland approached Prince Julius and said he had a proposal. He suggested that if they won, they should get the homing kingdom's latest facilities. Julius was shocked. Emily added that they would be working at the palace either way, so it was not a bad deal. Julius agreed but set a condition: if they lost, they would have to provide classified information from the Shingaya Empire. Emily said that was fine by her. Julius remarked that they were certainly confident in their abilities. He then ordered Therese to face them. Therese accepted. Julius also ordered a servant to go bring Shisma back immediately, just in case. The servant left. At Aira's shop, a boy told Aira that they had sold a lot again that day. Aira said she was so happy. Shisma arrived at Aira's shop that evening. Aira showed her the items prepared for the next day's sale. Shisma was surprised and asked if Aira produced that much every day. Aira confirmed that she was currently selling 155 items across 37 different types. Shisma said it was amazing that Aira could do that with just minimal equipment. Aira said she had been getting more customers lately and wanted to avoid running out of stock. Shisma noticed that Aira was selling elixirs for 10,000 slave and confirmed the price. Aira said yes and explained that the materials were valuable, so that seemed about right. Shisma was impressed, noting that 10,000 slave was about the same as a stay in their inn's finest room. She pointed out that the adventurers who needed elixirs earned even more than that. Aira thought that if the 10 elixirs she had made that day sold, she could maybe splurge a little. Shisma asked what Aira would do if she became wealthy. Aira bashfully told her to stop. Someone burst in calling for Lady Shisma, saying they had been looking for her. Shisma asked what the matter was. Aira and Shisma were then brought to the palace. Shisma was surprised and asked what was going on. Therese explained that she had only had an alchemy match with the visitors. Julius announced that he had won the match. Julius told Aira that there was no helping it now, but he demanded to know why Aira's state was there. Emily asked if Aira's name was really Aira, saying she did not recall any state alchemist by that name. Aira explained that it was a long story, mainly involving the prince. Emily noted that Aira had kept a cool expression even after seeing the items Roland and Lady Therese had made. She complimented Aira's skill and asked if she wanted to have a little match. Lord Clif suddenly appeared, calling out to Julius. Julius reacted with annoyance, calling him brother. Clif said the situation was an interesting development, but that he would take custody of the matter. He noted that it was now an alchemy match between the homing kingdom and the Shingaya Empire. Julius noticed that Clif had brought many people with him, including alchemists. Clif told Julius that he was naturally there since he was the one cleaning up Julius's messes. Julius clicked his tongue. Aira remarked that the National Alchemist compounding room was spacious and full of equipment she had never seen before. She was flustered and struggled to speak. A woman with purple hair and black eyes approached and asked if Aira was Aira State and whether she was a national alchemist too. Aira noticed the woman's purple hair and mysterious aura. The woman introduced herself as Odilia Casabalt. Aira repeated the name in surprise. Clif revealed that Lady Odilia was the one who would become Her Majesty the Queen of the Ryden Queendom. Aira was shocked. Odilia told Aira that she approved of her, saying she had simply applied for the alchemist recruitment and that it seemed she had quite the talent for it. She told Aira that she seemed to have grown into a resolute young woman, and that she could feel Aira's composure and ability to survive on her own. Julius cursed to himself that his older brother had outmaneuvered him again. Julius thought that taking control of alchemy in the homing kingdom was absolutely essential for him to become the next king. He decided that if it had come to this, he would call out to Emily and Roland. He asked them if they were interested in running a shop. Aira counted the stock and confirmed everything was there. She and her assistant agreed to give it their all again that day. They heard loud noises nearby and wondered what was going on. Aira guessed it might be construction. They noticed a huge sign had gone up. The sign read Keith Family Pharmacy. Aira was shocked, realizing the place had been Uncle Tom's blacksmith shop until just the day before. Prince Julius appeared and laughed, calling it a coincidence to run into Aira there. Aira greeted him and asked what brought him there. Julius said there was no reason in particular, then mentioned that the Keith siblings were opening a shop there starting that day. He noted that Aira ran an apothecary too and told her she had better work hard to compete and help the country flourish. Aira sighed. Aira thought that Julius's interference was so blatant it was almost refreshing. Roland greeted Aira, saying it had been a whole day since they last met. Roland said they were neighbors starting that day and suggested they get along. Aira laughed awkwardly. She wondered what they were thinking, opening a shop the very next day. Aira's shop currently carried 40 main products and also took custom orders. Lady Odilia arrived and asked if this was Aira's shop. Aira was surprised to see her. Odilia said it was good to see Aira in such high spirits. Aira thought it felt a bit too close for comfort, since she had just met Lady Odilia the day before. Odilia looked around the wares and noted that the shop stocked both elixirs and resurrection medicine. Odilia checked the elixir price and said that 10,000 slave was quite reasonable given their potency. Aira called Odilia sharp-eyed. Odilia laughed and told Aira that high-ranking adventurers would pay twice that amount. Aira was shocked to hear they would pay double. She imagined the money and thought that her dreams were growing. Aira then asked if it was safe for Odilia to be out walking alone. Odilia told Aira not to worry, explaining that even though things may not look it, she had skill in both magic and martial arts. She also mentioned that there was an excellent guard nearby. Aira did not see anyone around and wondered if someone was hidden. Odilia said she was planning to open a pharmacy back home as well and that today's visit was to introduce herself. Aira asked if Odilia was opening a shop. Odilia confirmed that she would not be returning home for some time yet. Odilia said goodbye to Aira and told her to visit her shop sometime. Aira agreed, saying she would be waiting. Aira thought that Odilia was completely free-spirited. Raihat said that another day had wrapped up safely and thanked Aira for her hard work. Aira thanked him in return. Aira thought that Raihat was a noble but felt different from Lord Clif. She recalled that he had mentioned working as a guard and wondered if he still practiced martial arts. Raihat asked if something was the matter. Aira realized she had been staring at him and told herself she could not do that. A customer arrived and asked if this was Aira State's shop. Aira apologized, saying they were already closed. The man said it would be quick and introduced himself as Caesar Blaze, a doctor. Aira thought he looked scary in all black. She wondered what business a doctor would have with her. Caesar told Aira that he had heard excellent things about her skills as an alchemist and that he had come hoping to build a good relationship as a client. Aira realized he was asking to order medicine. She thought that business-wise having a doctor as a client would be a great opportunity. Caesar said he ran a clinic nearby. He asked Aira to stop by when she had time, and joked that if he stayed too long her employee looked liable to bite his head off. Aira said Raihat would not do such a thing and agreed to visit soon. Raihat commented that Caesar's visit had been a surprise. Aira asked in what way. Raihat said Caesar seemed like a formidable opponent. Aira told him not to worry about it. Raihat offered to handle the cleanup and told Aira to go ahead and prepare the stock since they had another early day tomorrow. Aira thanked him. She thought about the client offer and noted that solid clients did not just show up easily. Aira told her assistant that having a valued customer was important and that they should keep working hard tomorrow. Caesar came to the shop the next day and asked to buy 5 elixirs. Aira stammered that 5 would be 50,000 slave. Caesar asked if there was a problem. People nearby recognized him. Ride had identified the man as Sigurd Barzel, a famous adventurer who had been visiting for a while. Aira was impressed by his presence and thought that buying in bulk was incredible. She asked Reinhard if he was acquainted with Sigurd. Reinhard confirmed that he was. Aira asked if Sigurd was truly that formidable. Reinhard explained that he had served as Lord Cliff's guard but was merely a noble's guard, while for Sigurd life and death hung in the balance in a way they did not for Reinhard. In a direct fight it would not even be a contest. Aira thought it was amazing and noted that she had gained 2 big customers out of nowhere, Sigurd and Caesar. Aira figured that Sigurd would likely keep coming as long as she maintained quality and quantity. She decided to head to Caesar's clinic later. Raihat offered to go with her and told her to think of him as her escort, saying they could head out once they closed up. Aira said she had been scared to go alone, so that helped. She thanked him. Aira and Raihat arrived at the clinic. Caesar was in the middle of treating a child's wounds with sutures. Aira noticed the child and thought the wounds were terrible. Raihat noted that suturing was rare these days. Caesar explained that healing with magic and items was the mainstream. He finished treating the child and told them they had been very brave. The child thanked the doctor. Caesar then turned his attention to Aira. Caesar asked if Aira would give him her answer regarding their previous discussion. Aira said she would be delighted to accept. Caesar was pleased and said that having her help was incredibly reassuring. He explained that he had not been in the area very long and had no old acquaintances. Aira noted that the clinic seemed to have opened suddenly too. Caesar said there were circumstances. He remarked that everyone had their own story. Aira mentioned that she was someone banished from the palace herself. Caesar told Aira that he had thought this since they first met, but that she was beautiful. Aira was flustered. Caesar said that golden hair and blue eyes were common enough, but Aira's were extraordinary. Aira stammered that the people around her were far more impressive. Aira mentioned Shisma with her distinctive appearance, for instance. Caesar observed that someone with an appearance like Odilia's had dyed her hair and changed her eye color, and that she used makeup as if to hide old scars. Rihat reacted, asking if Caesar knew about Lady Odilia. Aira wondered about the old scars. Caesar said it was just a theory, but that he could even treat old scars. He explained that like the suturing treatment from earlier, he would even perform surgery depending on the case. His treatment techniques could potentially heal even long-standing injuries, and that was the biggest difference from magic. Aira was impressed. Caesar explained that recovery magic and potions lost their effect as more time passed, which was why adventurers craved powerful items like elixirs. However, medicinal support was still useful, and that was why he had reached out to Aira. Aira thanked him and said she was very grateful, asking him to tell her if there was anything she could do. A student arrived at the clinic asking for Caesar, calling him teacher. Rihat suggested they take their leave. Aira noticed that a patient was coming even at that hour and thought maybe Caesar was actually famous. She asked Rihat what he thought of Caesar. Rihat said Caesar was a brilliant physician without question, but that something about him felt off. Rihat was thinking of reporting this to Lord Clif. Aira considered him a formidable opponent. That night the Keith family pharmacy was open and lively. Emily and Roland were performing their signature dual alchemy as a show, inviting people to step right up and watch. They announced they had completed fire bottles, lightning bottles, and elixirs. A crowd gathered. Aira watched and thought it looked rather fun. She examined the materials on display. Inside her shop, Aira noticed it was quite a commotion outside. Caesar arrived at Aira's shop and greeted her. Aira asked if he knew the Keith twins. Caesar said he was from the same country as them. He told Aira that the Keiths were pretty formidable competition for business, but that Aira had connections with him, so there was nothing to worry about. Aira thanked him and agreed to stay on good terms. Caesar then asked if Aira would care to join him for lunch. Aira was surprised by the lunch invitation. Caesar said he was just about to head out. Rihat said it was settled then and praised Aira's judgment as sound. Caesar noted that business looked like it was doing well. Sigurd then arrived at the shop. He asked Caesar who he was. Caesar called out Sigurd's name. Aira explained that Sigurd was a regular who had been coming by a lot lately. Caesar called Sigurd a rival. Sigurd asked what that was supposed to mean. The three of them were going to eat together? Aira found herself having a meal with a doctor and an adventurer. The atmosphere was awkward and silent. Caesar suggested they talk and do self-introductions. Sigurd asked what the point was and clicked his tongue, asking if Caesar really wanted to hear that. Caesar said he would go first. Caesar introduced himself as Caesar Blaze, a doctor by profession, 25 years old. His hobby was fishing. Aira thought that Caesar was quite a bit older than her. Sigurd said that fishing somehow fit him. Sigurd then introduced himself as Sigurd Basel, 28 years old, and said that dungeon conquering itself was his hobby. Aira said she could see that, calling it a remark befitting a top-class adventurer. Aira felt she was getting a sense of what they were like, though the situation was starting to scare her. She introduced herself as Aira State, 17 years old, and she guessed that her hobby was alchemy. Caesar then addressed Aira. Caesar warned Aira that he would not recommend taking on unstable adventurers as regular clients. He said it had been the same deal back in Shingaya where he was from. Sigurd was silent. Aira noted that adventurers were strong but many were just thugs. She agreed that Caesar had a point. It was a tough era to find decent work, and she had heard there were plenty who became adventurers just to scrape by day to day. Caesar told Aira that if she was thinking about expanding her shop beyond its current size, bringing doctors and apothecaries on as clients would be the smart move. Aira thought that was rude right out of the gate. She considered it and realized that wholesaling the items she made to doctors and other apothecaries would become a major source of income. She asked Caesar about the bottom line when it came to clients. Sigurd said that was true enough but pointed out that all he did was purchase rare items at Aira's shop. Caesar noted that the amounts ran into the tens of thousands of slave. A note explained that 10,000 slave was roughly 300,000 yen. Sigurd was surprised that an adventurer could pay such sums. Caesar explained that he paid that much because the shop had a good selection, but that it was inevitably irregular, more like a lump sum payment. Sigurd pointed out that Caesar could help people as a doctor while guaranteeing regular purchases, and said that was pretty admirable. Caesar apologized, admitting that his earlier comment had been dismissive of adventurers. Sigurd said that to be fair, there did seem to be plenty of scumbag adventurers out there. He proposed that he would be an irregular customer and Caesar would be a regular one, and that arrangement should work. Caesar laughed and agreed. He said he was surprised though. Sigurd asked by what. Caesar said he did not know Sigurd could be so kind with his words. Aira giggled, saying she had always figured Sigurd would be way more blunt about it. Sigurd asked what exactly they took him for. Aira visited Odilia's shop and was impressed by the incredible selection, noting that Odilia even had high-grade health potions and antidotes. Odilia welcomed Aira. Aira noticed that Odilia's method of alchemy was similar to her own. She thought that Odilia did not feel like a stranger. Odilia asked if something was wrong. Aira said it was nothing. Her assistant called out to her, asking what had her spacing out. Emily then appeared and asked if Aira was scoping out the competition, since their shops were rivals. Aira thought about how she could not take her eyes off Lady Odilia's alchemy, and how just like the Keith siblings it was not just similar, it was exactly like her own. Roland remarked that it was almost funny to see such a talented alchemist looking so gloomy. Emily told him to knock off the provocation. Aira insisted she was not looking gloomy at all. Emily said she had something she wanted to confirm with Aira. Emily declared that from here on it was a contest of sales, whichever shop could pull in more. She told Aira not to underestimate their twin alchemy. Aira agreed and said she was happy to face off against strong rivals like them. Emily smiled and said it was settled. A woman asked Prince Julius how he was feeling. Julius said he was fine, but that was not what had brought her all the way there. The woman brought up the coincidence of Keith and his sister opening an apothecary right in front of Aira's shop and asked what Julius could be thinking. Julius explained that the location was perfect for taking the lead in cultivating alchemists while keeping his older brother's protege Aira in check, the ideal position to establish dominance. Julius noted that ever since Therese met Aira, she had been changing, growing so much that her past ignorance seemed like a lie. He said the Keith siblings' shop was earning quite a profit and that it was too bad for Aira because he was still one step ahead. The state alchemists were easily meeting their quotas too, and his own position was largely secure. All that remained was to handle the matter of Aira's banishment. Therese asked if that had something to do with this. Julius confirmed that he had received the council's summons regarding Aira's banishment. Therese mentioned that Julius had kept refusing to answer the council's summons for one reason or another. Julius said that was just perfect and that he had actually summoned Therese for today. He told them he did not mind answering the council now. Therese announced that they were coming in. Julius was shocked to see his older brother and Aira. Julius entered the council chamber and was welcomed. He saw Aira, the council members, Therese, and Prince Clif all present. He thought this was bad. Julius accused Therese of planning a coordinated strike to bring him down. Julius wondered how he should answer this. The council asked Julius directly why he had dismissed an alchemist of Aira's caliber. Julius replied that it was just as Aira had said herself before. He had decided it was unbefitting for a commoner to work within the palace, and that was all there was to it. A council member pointed out that this was not mentioned in the documents Julius had previously submitted, and asked if he had filed a false report. Julius's attendant Orphan looked worried, but Julius told him not to worry. Julius asked to explain the situation first. He stated that he had hired Keith and his sister as new state alchemists, the Duke Keith siblings from the Shingaya Empire's Ducal House. Julius declared that he had simply banished Aira State because he adopted a merit-based approach. He said the Keith siblings were the true alchemists befitting the nation, and that their apothecary was currently providing tremendous results and contributions. The council considered this settled. Clif thought that the council's weakness to this kind of response was clear from the Julius matter, and that all that was needed was victory. Therese pointed out that Julius had not answered the question. Julius told her she was the only one who thought that. A nobleman with a fan called Therese naive, saying there were those of even higher standing than House Bayern present. He told the room that if they truly wanted to corner Julius, they should have laid the groundwork first. Clif took note. Clif asked Julius if he was saying it was no issue because he had secured someone more capable than Aira. Julius confirmed that was right. He asked Clif what he was thinking and whether it worried his older brother that much to see Julius closing in on the throne. Clif then asked Aira what her sales had been over the past 3 weeks. Aira reported that with her major customer contract alone that came to 500,000 slave and the rest came to about 20,000 slave per day, so just under 1 million slave in total. Julius was stunned. His attendant stammered that lying was not good. Aira said she was not lying and offered to bring the ledger if anyone was concerned. The net profit dropped a bit after deducting material and labor costs, but it was still substantial. Clift was impressed and told Aira she was really something. Julius reacted with shock. Aira credited Lord Clift's support. Clif told her it was not his support but her own talent, and that it was perfectly fine for her to take pride in it. Aira said that everyone around her was always helping, not just Amina and Raihat but Sigurd and Caesar too. Meeting all these people was what supported her. She believed that mastering alchemy even further would let her be of even greater use to everyone. She wanted to grow even more. Aira declared that it was not just about revenue, she wanted to know her limits as an alchemist. Julius abruptly declared that the discussion was over. He said he had just remembered an urgent matter and asked to take his leave if the council had no objections. Clift called after him, saying the conversation was not yet concluded. Orphan chased after Julius. Julius turned and shouted that Keith and his sister were the finest alchemists within his knowledge, and that the banishment of Aira would be proven the correct decision. He slammed the door behind him. Clift apologized to Aira. Aira said it was fine. In the end, the focus was on whether Prince Julius's judgment regarding the banishment was correct. Aira declared that she really could not afford to lose now. It all depended on the revenue contest against the Keith siblings. Emily was surprised to hear about Aira's million slaves in sales. She said she had a feeling once she saw Aira was selling elixirs, and asked if that was significant in terms of revenue. Roland said of course it was, though he was a prince and not thrilled about it. Emily asked if there was a way to beat those sales. Roland said that to beat those sales there was only one option. He stated that he would not tolerate a disappointment like Shisma Radui. He questioned Julius's judgment for calling Shisma a disappointment. Julius told Aira to just watch, and vowed that he would prove he was right. Clif told Aira that Julius was determined to win no matter what, and offered to help if there was anything he could do. Aira wondered what they were talking about. She asked if she could entrust the procurement of materials to Lord Clif. Clif agreed, telling her to leave it to him. Aira thanked him. She decided to ask Lord Clif for the elixir materials. She looked at the list and saw they were all rare materials, and realized that the only people who could procure ingredients of this caliber were people like Sigurd. Aira thought about how having someone come to mind immediately showed how important connections were, and that working solely as a state alchemist might never have taught her that. She declared that she would win this sales competition. Aira asked Sigurd to procure a material for her. Sigurd asked if it was difficult. Aira explained that she needed it for the panacea, but she had heard it was tough even for a top-tier adventurer to get. Sigurd said he would take a look. Sigurd explained that shadowgrass could only be found in the far north, an area inhabited by powerful dragons where an average adventurer would definitely die. Aira asked if it would be tough even for him. Sigurd remarked that adventurers really did fight strong monsters like that and said he could manage it somehow. Sigurd mentioned that there was an unknown dungeon that was closer. He had heard that rare materials including shadowgrass could be found in the newly discovered Mobius dungeon, about 3 hours south by carriage. He noted that getting the panacea materials there would be convenient. Aira asked if she could have him gather it there. Sigurd agreed but warned it would be expensive, about 70,000 slaves. Riet was shocked at the price. Aira told Sigurd to please do it, saying it was a fair price since she was asking him to go to a dangerous place and that he always helped her out. Sigurd confirmed the deal and told her to leave the material procurement to him. Riet thought to himself that Lady Aira, who could pay 70,000 slaves in cash, was truly terrifying. Aira asked if Riet had said something and he quickly denied it. A dark-haired boy then came into the shop and asked Aira for 5 mind potions and 5 intermediate healing potions. Aira cheerfully said she would get them right away. The boy told Aira she was in top form today too. Aira laughed and said that at first it was just to make a living, but she was really happy when customers were pleased. Aira then noticed it had been noisy outside for a while and asked if the Keith siblings were doing their street performance imitation again. Someone told her to come take a look. The Keith siblings were showing off their new twin alchemy, creating swords and armor instantly from a cauldron. Aira was surprised and realized they were using the equipment that used to belong to the blacksmith. Aira figured that the Singaya Empire must be backing them, since they had a stable supply of materials from Singaya and were using existing facilities. She noted that adventurers needed more than just medicine, and there should also be demand for weapons and armor for soldiers and self-defense. Aira recognized that the Keith siblings' twin alchemy was well suited for handling large items like weapons and armor. They had challenged her with items she did not have in her shop. She understood that weapons and armor usually had a high unit price, but with alchemy, mass production was possible and they could sell them cheaply. Their flashy methods also drew large crowds. One of the Keith siblings noticed Aira and teased her, guessing that she had come out because she was worried about her sales. Aira was caught off guard. The Keith sibling told Aira that the real match was starting now and warned that if she did not get creative, they would pull the rug out from under her. Aira replied that she knew that. Aira called out to Emily, telling her that alchemy for weapons and armor was fine but not to overdo it. Emily asked what she meant. Aira recalled reading about the taboo of the alchemy nation that flourished 1,000 years ago, the alchemy of weapons of mass destruction. Transmuting such things was a felony punishable by death. Emily said she knew, mentioning the manufacturing of indiscriminate highly lethal weapons, poison gas, and unmanned weapons. Aira confirmed that even now it was not just a felony, using alchemy as a tool for slaughter was absolutely forbidden. Emily reassured her that they were sticking strictly to swords and armor. Aira said if that was the case, then fine. Aira noticed that a significant number of adventurers were flocking to the Keith siblings' shop. Apparently, if you bought weapons and armor from them, they would sell you other items at a special discount. She overheard someone saying it was a better deal to buy from them. Aira realized they needed to do something. She thought that increasing the variety of items was a given and considered giving out discount coupons to people who bought a lot or were regular customers. Aira also thought about setting up special sale days. She told herself she would not lose to Emily and said to bring it on, that there were plenty of things they could improve. Several days later, Sigurd arrived at Isla State with the materials Aira had requested. Aira thanked Sigurd. He mentioned he had gathered some other materials while exploring and told her to use them if she needed them. Aira was amazed and said that with this much she might be able to make new items. Sigurd noted it was a convenient location, but the difficulty was correspondingly high, and warned her not to request this of half-baked adventurers. Aira said she would be sure to hire Sigurd again when the time came. Sigurd agreed. Lord Clif then appeared. Sigurd remarked that between Clif and that mysterious doctor, Aira had quite the extensive network. Aira nervously agreed. Lord Clif presented materials for the elixir and said a stable supply in the future should also be possible. Aira thanked him. Clif told her it was for her and not to worry about it. Aira said she was thinking of making a large signboard and some flyers about the featured products at Apothecary engage in services for regular customers. Clif found it interesting and offered to help. He said he would arrange for the signboard to be made. Clif told Aira to leave it to him and that he would have a magnificent signboard made that rivaled the Keith family's. Aira was grateful and gladly accepted his offer. Aira then said the preparations were complete and that now it was her turn to work hard. She needed to put together an efficient alchemy method so they could provide a stable supply of the 3 major recovery potions. She began testing what steps could be skipped while still maximizing the efficacy. She noted this would require more delicate work than ever before. Several days later, Aira announced that she had finished. Shisma was amazed that Aira had perfected such a systematized alchemy method for the 3 major recovery potions. Aira thanked Shisma, saying it was all thanks to her help. Shisma said she did not do anything and that she could never match Aira's efficiency. Aira said she still had a long way to go. Shisma told Aira she should believe in her own abilities more, that it was the truth. Aira said she felt like she did enough already. Shisma said that signboard was nothing and that if Aira put her mind to it she could achieve much greater things. She added that if Aira returned to being a state alchemist, imagine how much benefit she would bring to the country. The signboard for Apothecary Engage was displayed, advertising the 3 major recovery potions and elixirs in stock. Aira thought it was written up so much it almost felt like false advertising. Aira said she guessed she really did not intend to go back, and that she did not want to deal with that prince either. She decided to sell the panaceas for 10,000 slave and the elixirs for 20,000 slave. Shisma said she would go put them on display. Aira looked at the panaceas, revival medicine and elixirs lined up and thought it was quite a spectacular sight. Aira wondered why she was able to do all this. She thought that if Shisma was right and a normal alchemist tried to achieve these results it would take many years. She recalled that she had been interested in alchemy for as long as she could remember. She was just an ordinary girl born in the rural town of Rurubu. She had a master who taught her but she quickly surpassed them. She wondered if that was really all there was to it. Aira was surprised when her parents suddenly appeared at the shop. Her mother hugged her and asked how she had been, saying it had been a while. Aira told her mother to wait, saying it was embarrassing. Her parents explained they were worried because the allowance Aira had been sending them suddenly increased. Her father said he was so worried she had started working in the nightlife or something. Aira told them there was no need to worry and they saw the sign at the entrance too. Her father said it looked like she was running a fine apothecary. Her parents then asked who Simza was. Simza introduced herself as Simza Radui, Aira's friend. Aira's mother introduced herself as Ninya, and her father introduced himself as Genius. Simza nervously greeted them. Simza then said that since she was done helping out, she would be heading back to the palace. Aira thanked her. Aira's parents were impressed that Simza mentioned the palace, commenting that Aira had made friends with quite an amazing girl. Aira wondered if Simza was just being considerate by leaving. Her mother said Simza should stay and relax. Someone then remarked on what a fun group had gathered. Lady Odilia appeared. Aira's parents were surprised to see her. Aira did not recognize her. Her father explained that Lady Odilia had visited Rurubu town in the past, and they had also been to the queendom of Raiden where they became acquaintances. Aira said she did not remember at all and asked if it was when she was little. Lady Odilia greeted Ninya and Genius, saying it had been a while and that she was surprised to meet them here. Lady Odilia mentioned that Aira seemed to have become able to synthesize all 3 major recovery medicines. Aira said she managed it somehow with the help of various people. Lady Odilia told her it was her talent and effort that brought it all together and praised her for a job well done. Aira thanked her. Lady Odilia noted that the Keith family's sales were growing, primarily centered around equipment, while Aira was competing with a more straightforward approach. Aira thought that being praised by Lady Odilia made her feel especially validated. Lady Odilia said she looked forward to seeing who would emerge victorious. However, she warned that Aira might be needing a bodyguard soon. Aira was confused. Lady Odilia explained that exceptional talent tended to be either shunned or exploited by others. She said she would assign 2 of her personal guards, the pentagrams, to Aira. She showed Aira the invisible robe passed down in her country. As long as you wore it, you became invisible. Aira was startled. Lady Odilia said that from now on the guards would take turns acting as Aira's bodyguards. Aira nervously greeted them. Aira's father said it was wonderful and that now he and her mother could rest easy too. Lady Odilia laughed. Aira thought that things got a bit lively, but now they were fully prepared for the competition. Emily noted that the equipment they had synthesized was currently selling well, but she had heard that Aira's shop now had the 3 major potions in stock. She admitted it was frustrating but that Aira's alchemy skills were better. She said that to win they first needed to know their enemy, and decided to go scout out Aira's shop. Emily visited Aira's shop and saw it was having a full house. Aira noticed Emily and said it was rare for her to come by, guessing she was there to scout. Emily confirmed it. Aira said they were doing well too. Emily noted that Aira seemed to have found some big clients. She thought that a regular source of income was huge, and that their main customers were adventurers after all. Aira mentioned that one of her regulars, Sigurd, was really strong and wondered if he was famous. She asked Emily if she knew him. Emily was shocked, asking if she meant Sigurd Basil, the one ranked second among solo adventurers. Emily thought that if it was true, this was a bit bad. Just then, Sigurd arrived at the shop. Sigurd greeted Aira. He was accompanied by another man who complained about having to walk alongside Sigurd. Sigurd ordered 5 each of the elixir, panacea, and revival potion and asked to stock up 3 times the usual amount for next month. Aira said she would get them right away. Emily laughed nervously and admitted they could not win against this. More customers came in asking for elixirs and panaceas. Aira happily served them. Rehat congratulated Aira on her good work. Aira mentioned she was thinking of hiring someone soon. Riyad said that was a good idea, noting that sales were increasing and that hiring help would allow Aira to focus on synthesis. Aira agreed, saying the first special sale day was incredibly crowded and she had been running back and forth between the workshop and the storefront. Having more people would broaden the scope of what they could challenge. Rehat told her she was getting ahead of herself and that they needed to make a recruitment ad right away. Aira said every day had been fun lately and she could feel the busyness was helping her grow. Someone said they could not leave things ambiguous. Orphan asked Prince Julius where he was going. Prince Julius said the Keith siblings had called for him and that the sales competition was probably settled. He told Orphan to come along. Another person said they had been looking for Prince Julius. Prince Julius asked why he could not be like his brother, Prince Clif. He said his brother excelled at everything: swordsmanship, studies, horseback riding. Everyone said his brother was fit to be the next king and that Julius was incompetent. Orphan told him that was not true at all and that she believed there were things only he could do. Julius asked Orphan if she would always be on his side. Orphan confirmed she would. Julius asked who some people approaching them were. Orphan said they appeared to be the sons of counts and dukes. They all came to rely on Julius. Julius noted he was generous after all and that he must return their contributions with favor. He told Orphan to watch, soon even his brother would be astounded by his brilliance. Julius learned about a commoner alchemist his brother favored. He said his brother had finally lost his touch, employing someone who was not even a noble. He declared he would banish her. Orphan tried to object, but Julius said now was the perfect opportunity, while his brother was away on an expedition. He said he would need to lay the groundwork with the council and prepare the paperwork. There was a sound at the door. Orphan called out to Julius, asking what was wrong. Julius told her to pull herself together, saying they were just there to confirm their victory. Orphan said it was nothing. The Keith siblings greeted Julius, saying it had been a while. Julius asked why Aira was there. The Keith siblings said it looked like she was just having a friendly chat with them. Emily told Julius it was about the sales competition. She said they lost. They could not beat Aira's talent as an alchemist or her talent for business. Julius said that was impossible. He realized the ones he found were inferior to his brothers. Aira spoke up, reminding Julius that he had said in front of the council that because there were alchemists with more skill than her banishment was not a mistake. She pointed out that the Keith siblings had now acknowledged her skill. She told Julius he should not be able to make any more excuses to the council. Julius asked if she was saying they admitted defeat. Roland and Emily said it was not exactly admitting defeat, but it was a fact that they were losing right now. Julius argued that the council did not set a specific deadline, so it did not mean he had lost yet. Emily called his logic childish. Someone asked Julius if he thought an excuse like that would work. Julius recognized his brother. Clif said he had received word that Julius had come to this shop. Aira asked Clif why he was there. Clif said they were ready on their end too. The council was calling for Julius. Clif asked Aira to accompany them. Aira said she intended to. Clif told Julius that he had overlooked his actions until now because they were family, but he could not ignore this. He told Julius to expect to be punished. However, Clif thanked Julius for finding so many talented individuals. Clif declared he would have Julius stop getting in Aira's way. He said he had also reformed the council members. He told Julius he no longer had his trump card, and to give up. At the council, Clif presented a report testifying that Lady Aira's banishment was unjust. Julius panicked, saying the sales competition did not have a set time limit and it was too early to come to a conclusion. Clif asked if Julius had any objections. Julius tried to argue that if they looked at it in the long term, Clif told him that was enough and asked him to stop humiliating himself any further. The council declared that Prince Julius Homing had unjustly dismissed Lady Aira's state and plotted to use alchemy for his own selfish desires. They announced they would now deliberate on the aforementioned crimes. Prince Julius would be detained until a notice of punishment was issued. Julius was shocked, asking if even royalty got detained. Clif explained it would be in a special room underground, saying the facilities were not much different from a guest room, but his freedom would be restricted and the guards would be strict. Aira said she did not know such a thing existed. Julius protested, asking if Clif was sending him to that dungeon and saying it made him look like a criminal. He pleaded with his brother to do something, asking if they were not brothers. Clif told Julius that he was indeed his brother and they shared the same blood, but he said they were separate individuals. Julius was not him, and he was not Julius. Clif admitted the situation was caused by his own mismanagement. He told Julius to think carefully about the meaning of his actions and make amends. Clif said he guessed he was too soft. Aira told him she thought it was very like him. She said a lot had happened, but as a result she had had many experiences she could not have had if she had not been there. She added that there were still things that needed to be cleaned up. Clif was confused. Aira had challenged the Keith siblings, Roland and Emily, to an alchemy match with Prince Clif as the referee. Roland remarked it was funny that she made the prince the referee. Emily said that when she told them she wanted to have a proper match with them, they prepared a place for it. She thought it would not sit well if her country remained defeated. The rules were set, a time limit of 30 minutes, with the winner decided by the overall quality and quantity of items created. Both sides had no objections. The match began. The Keith siblings worked together, perfectly in sync with absolutely no wasted movements in their process. Aira watched and thought about everything that had led her to this point. Aira thought about the elixir she had successfully created for the first time in her match with Shisma, the efficient refining method for the 3 major recovery potions she had finally completed, her encounter with the Keith siblings' dual alchemy, and Lady Odilia's alchemy techniques, which were very similar to hers. She believed all of that would become her weapons. Time was called. The Keith siblings had made 33 super high-grade recovery potions and 24 high-grade recovery potions, which was impressive. They proudly said it was the true worth of their dual alchemy. Aira had made a total of 28 items, consisting of 2 types, elixirs and panaceas. The Keith siblings admitted it was in terms of numbers an overwhelming victory for them, but in terms of quality, rarity, and efficacy, Aira surpassed them in all of them. Roland gave up, saying it was a complete defeat. Emily asked Aira who on earth she was. Aira said she was just a country girl. Roland thought there was no country girl like this. Back at the shop, Roland congratulated Aira on a good day of work. Aira said the same to him. The flyer they had made to recruit employees looked good. They had also posted it at the Adventurers Guild and hoped to get some applicants. Amina, one of the bodyguards, told Aira good work and asked if she could lock up. Aira said everything was fine. Amina remarked that a lot had happened since Aira came here. She said she thought it was tough, but that Aira probably received some good stimulation too. Aira agreed, thinking about developing the shop, securing new employees and cultivating new business partners, all while improving her skills through friendly rivalry with excellent alchemists. She declared she would aim to be the best alchemist in the kingdom, no, the world. Rihat said that was great and that he would support her. Amina told Aira she was apparently very popular at the Adventurers Guild as the miracle alchemist. Aira was surprised. Amina teased her, saying there were so many wonderful men around her, so the road ahead was full of difficulties. She asked Rihat to confirm. Rihat was caught off guard. Aira told them to please not tease her. Simon told Aira that they had 4 applicants for the job opening. Aira thanked him. Simon explained that if you wanted to be an apothecary, working at Engage was a huge plus. He said that whether you wanted to gain skills or aim for independence, having high ideals was just like being an adventurer. Aira was surprised by the comparison. Simon explained that adventurers had a ranking system and the basic idea was to complete requests and aim for the top. Simon continued that the higher the rank, the more difficult the requests became, and naturally the pay was higher too. Earning from rewards was the main thing, but top-ranked adventurers also got a fixed salary from the guild. He added that you could also sell materials and rare ores gathered from monsters. It was a dream job where you could make a fortune despite the danger, which was why there was a never-ending stream of people wanting to become adventurers. Aira wondered what kind of people the top-ranked adventurers were. A woman arrived at the Adventurers Guild, complaining about having to attend the adventurer meeting. Her companion told her not to say that. She said the others could just go by themselves. Today was an adventurer meeting for those ranked 5th and above, and it was a rule that party leaders had to attend. Simon identified her as the 4th-ranked adventurer, Camille Shade, also known as Heavy Metal. He noted she was a mage with guaranteed skills. Camille noticed Aira and asked if she was Aira State. Aira nervously confirmed. Camille scoffed, saying the miracle alchemist was such a small girl. She told Aira it must be nice having it so easy, getting fawned over just because she could make a few potions. Aira warned her not to get too carried away if she did not want to embarrass herself. Camille continued, saying item masters were practically dead weight in life or death battles. She declared that a skilled priest was enough for healing, and that there was no time to shine for an item master. Aira tried to object, but Sigurd then arrived and asked Aira what she was doing in a place like this. Aira was relieved. Camille asked Sigurd if Aira was an acquaintance of his. Sigurd said he just bought items at her shop. Camille teased him, asking if this kind of girl was his type. She was shocked that Sigurd, who only ever worked solo, would keep an item master around. Sigurd told her she was probably not used to the term item master, and to call Aira an alchemist. Camille called him petty. Sigurd said he did not care what she called Aira, but Camille had made a fool out of him. Someone in armor told them that was enough and not to cause trouble for Sir Simon and the other adventurers. Aira was impressed by the armored figure's intense aura. The person noted that everyone was now present. Someone apologized to Sifos for keeping him waiting. Aira asked if these people were the top-ranked adventurers. Sigurd told Aira the meeting was about to start, so she should probably take her leave. Aira asked if she could observe instead, saying it would be a good opportunity to see what kind of people her clients were. Sigurd said if she wanted to, it was fine. Camille teased that if Aira was nervous she could just stick to Sigurd's back. Aira said she would not. The meeting began. The attendees were introduced. Rank 4 Heavy Metal Camille Shade, Rank 3 Holy Beast Knights Alpha Lufa, Rank 2 Unaffiliated Sigurd Basil, and Rank 5 Aldebaran Sifos McEnroe. Camille reported there were no interesting adventurers this time. Alpha Lufa had nothing to report either. Sifos asked Sigurd about a new dungeon he had visited. Aira explained that the adventurer meeting was for exchanging information on rare materials and dangerous monsters, discussing strategy for new dungeons, and talking about training promising adventurers. Aira recognized it as the place she had requested materials from before. The monsters that appeared there were powerful. Vivid snakes, Kaiser horns, and there might even be unknown monsters. Sigurd reported on the Mobius dungeon, saying it was close to the capital and a treasure trove of rare materials, starting with shadowgrass. Sigurd told the others that Aira should know how good the quality was. Camille scoffed, saying Sigurd was putting a lot of faith in this little girl. Sigurd said Aira was young, but he guaranteed her skills. He told Camille she mostly operated in other countries, so she probably did not know, and suggested she visit Aira's shop sometime. Camille wondered about that. Sifos said it seemed Aira was a great help to adventurers. Aira humbly said she just made and sold items. Sifos noted that item makers, or alchemists in this case, might be few in number, but they were useful to adventurers. He told Aira he hoped she would continue to help everyone. Aira eagerly agreed. Camille pointed out that for healing you just needed an excellent priest who could use magic. She turned to Sifos, asking him to agree. Sifos was caught off guard. Camille then tried to recruit Sifos, saying if he joined her team he would be set and the treatment was not bad. Sigurd told her not to bother Sifos. Camille said she was still as persistent as ever with the recruiting. Sigurd told her to learn how to socialize a bit more. She said he really could not take a joke. Sifos pointed out that Sigurd was still acting alone and not forming a team even though their line of work was dangerous. Sigurd said it suited his nature better. Sifos told him to worry about his own team instead of bothering with him. Sigurd said he was just concerned about Sifos. Camille asked if the famous knight of the holy state of Lombardia was worried about Sigurd. Sifos said he was not particularly worried. Aira reacted with surprise. Sifos wrapped up the meeting, telling everyone to meet again alive. Aira noticed that the first-place Team Innocent had never showed up. Simon said they were a capricious duo and it was rarer to actually see them. Aira said she would like to meet them someday, and if Sigurd was lucky he might eventually. She told Sigurd that his items would be ready tomorrow and asked him to come pick them up. Sigurd agreed and told her to be careful on her way back. Aira sighed, saying she was tired. She had only intended to ask about the employee, but a lot happened. Rehat told Aira she was quite late. Aira apologized. A visitor then entered the shop. Aira welcomed them and was surprised to see it was Sifos. He thanked her for earlier. He introduced himself as the leader of Aldebaran and said he was curious since Sigurd trusted Aira so much and was hoping to see the items in her shop. Aira said of course that was fine. Sifos asked if Aira was an adventurer. Aira said she knew of him. She explained that the shop handled everything from cheap household items to powerful items like the 3 major recovery potions. Sifos was impressed, saying he had seen shops in various countries and towns, but the variety and quality Aira handled were on another level. Aira thanked him. Sifos said he definitely wanted to buy some items. Aira was happy to be praised so much and thought she was glad she had opened a pharmacy. Aira mentioned they could also handle special orders depending on the consultation. Camille then entered the shop asking if this was Aira State's shop and commenting that it was a plain shop as expected. Aira was not pleased to see her. Camille told Aira to be happy she took the trouble to come. Aira apologized. She thought to herself that she really did not deal well with this type. Someone outside noticed Camille Shade from Heavy Metal was visiting the shop. Rehat remarked that Sifos was a real big shot and that it was his first time seeing him. He noted that Sifos really was an amazing person. Camille looked at the items in the shop, elixirs, revival potions, panaceas, and admitted that it seemed the content Aira was advertising so grandly was true. She guessed Sigurd was not just talking big. She apologized for misjudging Aira's abilities. However, she maintained that it was true that item makers were a burden to adventurers. Aira admitted Camille had a point. She explained that strong adventurers like Camille did not need item makers. Camille said she could wipe out enemies with her fire attack magic, and if a mage like Sifos who excelled at support and defense could also heal and prevent counterattacks, that was more than enough. Aira responded that while you could adventure without items if you had the skill, items were good because anyone could use them. Whether you were strong or weak, bad at magic or bad at swordsmanship, items equalized all sorts of differences. She said that was why she wanted to help with those opportunities through alchemy. Camille quietly acknowledged this. Lord Clif then arrived at the shop, asking if he could interrupt. Aira greeted him and asked what the matter was. Clif said he was there to place an order. He told Aira he wanted to see her and asked if he was a bother. Aira blushed and said not at all. Clif explained that they would be needing a large amount of recovery items. A powerful monster had been sighted in the Great Eastern Forest, and an investigation team was being sent out before the neighboring villages suffered any damage. Camille found this interesting and introduced herself to Clif as the leader of the adventurer party Heavy Metal. She asked if her party could accompany the investigation as guards. Clif asked who she was. Sifos also volunteered, introducing himself as the leader of Aldebaran and saying he could use support magic. Clif said having two high-ranking adventurers was reassuring and agreed to hire them. Camille then suggested that Aira should also accompany the investigation. Aira was confused. Riot asked if that would not be dangerous. Clif explained that based on eyewitness reports, the enemy was highly likely a Griffin. Due to the land's influence, the Great Eastern Forest had many creatures with unknown poisons, and he believed Aira, who could instantly make useful medicines, would be of help. Aira protested, saying she had never fought before and that she was just a little girl who could make some medicine. She said she needed her synthesis tools. Camille said this was why she hated item makers, making items in a safe zone and calling it a day was an easy job. She vowed she would definitely drag Aira down with her. Camille told Aira to hold out her hands. She gave her a case and told her to open it. Inside was a portable alchemy set with a folding alchemy cauldron. Camille said it was the bare minimum, but she would not let Aira say she could not make anything with it. Aira said she could certainly make items right away with this. Camille told her she was giving it to her. She said it would be a problem if Aira tagged along without even having something like this. Camille told Aira to just stay in the back and synthesize. She did not need to fight. She added that Aira should just try not to get in their way. Aira thanked her. Aira thought that if she got involved in a national investigation led by Lord Clif, she would be remembered and her name would go up. As an adventurer, this opportunity might be precious. She asked Lord Clif if it was okay for her to go with them too. Clif said there were powerful adventurers with them, so it should be fine. He formally requested that Aira accompany the investigation to the Great Eastern Forest. Aira happily accepted. Aira told Lady Odilia that she was accompanying the monster survey of the Great Eastern Forest, adding it was reckless of her. Odilia told her not at all, it was important for an alchemist to know the field. She told Aira to burn the experience into her memory. The harshness of adventuring, the difficulty of gathering materials after grueling battles with monsters. Odilia warned Aira that if the monster truly was a Griffin, she must be on maximum alert. Griffins were ferocious and above all cunning, and only high-ranking adventurers could take them down. Aira asked if they were really that strong. A few days later, Lord Clif told Aira he had something to give her. The group arrived at the Echoric Great Forest. Aira noticed it was quite dark. Camille said that if push came to shove, she would just burn everything. Aira was already exhausted, panting heavily. Camille scolded Aira, saying this was not a picnic and asking why she was exhausted at the entrance. Aira apologized, saying she just did not have much stamina. Sifos asked if he should carry some of her bags. Aira refused, saying she would consider this a learning experience and do her best. She then stumbled and fell. Clif caught her. Aira thanked Clif. He commented that unpaved roads were quite taxing and offered to carry her. Aira was embarrassed and asked him to spare her. Camille remarked that the two of them seemed to get along very well. Clif told her to stop. He then introduced Captain Rabuto, the strongest soldier the Kingdom of Homing boasted. Rabuto noted that Lady Aira had stronger people than him around her. Aira observed that the area was completely untouched by human hands. Clif explained that this was the only region in their country where development had not progressed. The vast primeval forest and the unknown monsters living there prevented entry. His father and past kings could not touch it either. He said that if they cleared this area, they would have more land and resources for the country. They could open up the land, people would gather, and jobs would be created. They could also build residential areas for the increasing number of immigrants. Aira realized that was why the first prince would personally go on a survey. He was thinking of the country. Aira thought she would do her best too. Camille attacked some monsters with her flame shot. Camille defeated some monsters despite calling them small fry. Sifos wondered if there really was a Griffin in the forest. Aira was amazed watching Camille take on more than 10 low-level werewolves at once, even though Camille said it was a piece of cake and told Aira to praise her more. Aira noted it was amazing but pointed out that the captain had been fighting while guarding her at the same time. Even so, taking out that many in an instant was expected of a high-ranking adventurer. Clif asked if Aira was unhurt. She confirmed she was fine. Clif noticed Aira did not look too well. Aira said she was just a little surprised. She thought to herself that she knew she would not be in danger because she was in the center of the guards, but she could not move at all. She realized that adventurers were always fighting this kind of fear. The group set up camp at night. Aira asked if it was okay to have such a big fire. Clif explained that the monsters around there were cautious, so it was actually more dangerous to put it out. Aira wondered if the other soldiers were safe, noting that the investigation team had been split into 3 groups and that the rest should be supporting them from behind. He pointed out that ordinary soldiers were no match for a Griffin, but splitting their forces was also dangerous. He said it was most efficient for them to go ahead and lead the troops. Camille remarked that they had wanted His Highness to stay in the rear, and another person commented that Lord Clif was surprisingly stubborn. They then shouted, demanding to know what was going on. The problem turned out to be the food. Sifos refused to eat werewolf meat as it was, complaining that it just smelled bad and had no taste. The others were shocked that anyone would eat it at all. It turned out all the seasonings had been sent to the rear unit, which left them with nothing to flavor the meat. Aira said they just needed it to be edible. Camille asked if she had brought something. Aira said she had not brought anything, but told them to leave it to her. She pulled out the werewolf meat and began cutting it up on a tree stump, preparing to cook. The meat was sautéed and gave off a pleasant aroma. Clif praised Aira for finding potatoes. However, another Aira corrected them, explaining that what she had found was actually the root of a medicinal herb. Aira explained that the herb was used to treat paralysis and also removed bad odors. The root itself had no flavor, but its texture was similar to a potato. Sifos noticed it smelled like butter. Aira explained that it was tree sap, and that there had been some of the same stuff among what Sigurd had gathered for her along with the shadow-viewing grass before. She had thought it would be perfect since she could extract salt and oil by chopping and straining it. He was amazed and said that alchemy could be used for cooking too. Aira said she thought it should be at least edible now. The group gathered around happily. Camille was still skeptical, saying that she was just mixing some roots and tree sap and questioning whether it was really edible. Aira nervously asked how it tasted. The person took a bite and admitted it was not bad. Aira looked relieved and emotional at the response. After the meal, Sifos said she was stuffed and thanked Aira. Aira called out to Sifos. Sifos asked Aira not to use formal language with her, saying that compared to an adventurer like Aira, she had just tagged along. Aira told Sifos that she was an amazing person and asked her to please have confidence in herself. Sifos said she was glad they could talk normally and greeted Aira again. Aira giggled happily. Aira then wondered how the pentagram people were doing and asked if they were okay for food. She noted that they could not show themselves because everyone was around. She offered to leave some provisions for them. Something moved in the darkness behind her. Suddenly a griffin appeared and lunged at her. Aira froze in shock. A barrier activated around her from the defense stone that Lady Odilia had given her the other day. But Aira realized it would not hold much longer. Someone cast flame shot at the griffin, striking it with fire.